Now the first thing you want to do is get most of your men out of the way. So you hold Control M, that will select all your infantry units. You group them and put them in column formation and click on your mini-map just to move them out of the way. The biggest problem people have with fighting a field fortification battle is getting their units to actually man the fortifications. This is really quite simple to overcome, however. All you got to do is get each unit to occupy a very small discrete area of any wall or fortification. For example, on this diamond-shaped bastion, if I select a unit and click in the middle of it, the troops form a long column along this bridge, which is quite useless. What I want them to do is be in one specific area of the bastion, like this. And there's only a few specific spots that you can click on that will enable them to do this. If you click on this corner, they just form a longer column. If you click on this corner, they kind of group up on that end. But since I expect the enemy to assault from this direction, I'll put them in this corner over here. Now, if they don't go where you want, you just click a few different spots around that area and they'll eventually end up there. Now when it comes to manning the walls and the wall towers, it's a little trickier because it's harder to find those specific spots that will group the men up in a very discrete little area. For example, on this wall, if I were to select a unit and click here, the men actually man this area. If I select at the point, they don't really do much good there either. If I select the corner, they just spread out a little bit more. The spot you actually want to select is on the side in the middle, right about here. And if you get some stragglers out behind along this wall, simply try changing the facing of the unit until it's more parallel with this line here. And then with a little trial and error, you can get most, if not all, of your men inside of the fortification. The star fort itself seems to be separated into thirds. That is to say, there are 3 different parts. These parts are separated by this line right here, and there are 4 of these lines. One right there, one right here, which separates the front part of the fort from the middle, and 2 of those lines back there which separate the middle from the back. So to man this section of the wall, I need to use that dividing line. So I select my unit, and if I place him on this side of the line, he'll occupy the middle side of the fort. If I place him on the other side of the line, he'll occupy the front corner. Now since I use a modification which makes my units 2.5 times bigger than vanilla, I have 500 man battalions and I can man this wall more effectively. So I like to click on this corner here so my unit will occupy the left side of the front quadrant. Then I select another unit to occupy the front corner of that quadrant. And you just go on down the wall, manning the separate areas as best as you can. I select some of my better units to man the forward bastion. On the left side of this bastion, I'll change the facing around of the unit I'm going to place there, so he'll form a nice little group there. If I don't do that, for example, I take this unit which is facing this way and place him there, he'll form out like this. So the facing is important. And then you just work your way up along the rest of the wall, first facing your units in the direction in which they're going to man the fortifications. And so once again, with a little trial and error, you can get your units to line up exactly where you want them. Now the next thing I like to do is hold Control and then left click on all of your units going from left to right, so you can keep a good command and control. After you group them, you just got to click on them and you can work your way down the line and keep an eye on what's going on, and they're all in sequence. Cannons are relatively useless in fortification battles, because if you place them in the fort, they can't fire over the wall, and if you place them outside, they'll simply get massacred. So mortars are your best bet, whether they're fixed or mobile mortars. Now obviously the problem with fixed mortars is the fact that they're fixed. So where you set them and how you adjust their field of fire is what it'll be for the entire game. So you generally try to spread them out, have their fields of fire cover what's most likely to be the main approaches, and hope for the best. And just like you previously done with your infantry units, control, left click from left to right so you can maintain a good command and control, group them. And I also like to take off fire at will because I like to assign the targets, and I toggle shells. Next, select a couple of your best infantry units and place them in a central location in the rear of your fortification to counter the inevitable flanking attempts by your enemy. Any cavalry you have should go outside of the fort on the flanks, preferably in a diamond formation if you have it. And I try to keep them behind either one of the rear walls or one of the side bastions. Any generals you have, you can use several different ways. You could place them dismounted in an area that is likely to be hard pressed, and they could help with the morale factor. You can keep them in the rear with the reserves, but in this instance, since I'm rather light on cavalry for the battle, I'm going to keep them with my other cavalry.